Ladies and gentlemen, or I guess just gentlemen, welcome back to our second edition of the Whad Happened podcast with me and Dickie, and Zane, I guess. I think he'll be in here a little more today.
Thank you, Zane.
But yes, it's great to be back. Uh, a lot to talk about this week. We'll cover everything that happened this past week,
Yep.
all the transactions that happened, or just the trades. And then we finally got our sponsor for you guys. Can't wait to share that with you. And then we'll preview this week coming up, and me, Dickie, and our guest will make our picks
Special guest, our first celebrity guest appearance. Get excited for that.
Yes, I am looking forward to that. It should be a fun conversation. But Dickie, what do you say? Should we jump right into what happened this past week?
I think we should jump right in. Let's start with the current standings of where everything laid out last week. Okay, Zane, can you pull that up? Thank you.
There was a good shakeup.
All right. So there was a lot of movement on this, as you can see. These are previous standings, so you can take an eye at this. We all know this. We don't need to go over this one by one. So Zane, go ahead and move to the next page. And this is everything that transpired through the week. Zane, I'm sorry. How did you lose to Dawgs in them?
It was a tough week. It was a tough week from all my team. Dawgs in him had a nice week from his bench. We both had some players out. I believe he had more players out than I did on bye, and he performed better than I did.
Definitely. It was a very low-scoring week in fantasy when I was third highest scoring team at only 105. It was a pretty low-scoring week across the board in our league. So I'm thinking that you could have had him, Zane. There's always next week.
It was a low scoring week for the NFL in general. Like a lot of the games were just boring this weekend, which I don't really know if there's any reason for it, but it was a low scoring week for everyone. But yeah, hopefully we don't have any more of those going forward.
Sure, we can just go through every game real quick and preview everything that happened. Obviously, the top game we already talked about, Linguini lost to Dawgs in them. We all picked Linguini to win that game, and Dawgs in them upset the hosts. Vogel's footlong got obliterated by myself, and not much to my own credit. He put up 40 points because his team is absolutely terrible. Oklahoma Drill clutched out a win, winning by 5 points against two of these nuts. Much credit goes to that 51-yard field goal. I believe that won Oklahoma Drill this matchup this week. You want to get the last half, Bingham?
Yes, I would love to. Bingham comes on top against Armed Rodgery. Had some big days from Stephon Diggs and Kenneth Walker for my team. They helped me a lot. And really for Armed Rodgery, Mark Andrews was the only person who really contributed for him, thankfully. So a tough week for him, but I'm glad to be 4-2.
I will also say Armed Rodgery would have beat 6 other teams in the league. He got kind of unlucky with who he went against, being the highest scoring person this week.
Yeah, very tough draw for him. But it's just the way it goes in fantasy a lot. Moving on, we got Cobra Kyler dropping another game. He loses to the most hated team in our league, Suck One D's Nuts. Burrow and Ramondre had big days for Nate. And I highlighted Ramondre Stevenson going into the game last week. I thought he was going to have a big game, and he did for Nate. So, Nate, congrats. We still all hate you, but congrats on the win. And Stafford just continues to hurt Ed. So, he's going to have to make a QB move.
Luckily, Tua is coming back for him. Luckily, Tua is coming back for Ed. So hopefully that can get his team above 77 points. That's terrible. Nate, 98 points is not a lot of points this week. That does not win you a lot of games most weeks. Consider yourself lucky. There is not a lot of upside for you, buddy.
Yes. Yep. We've highlighted that enough. No one likes his team anymore. But all right, final game of week 6 was.
You changed his name again?
We had another name change.
Formerly the one who knocks, now 10th place guaranteed. going up against Zaby Baby. Zaby Baby comes up on top in this game. Another thing we highlighted, the trade acquisitions. Eckler and Gabe Davis boosted Zaby Baby's team this week. They were big for him. And Tom Brady against practice squad players in the secondary for the Steelers puts up a dud for 10th place guaranteed. And Mike Williams got shut down by Pat Surtain last night, which did not help him at all. Dickie, do you have anything else to add on to that?
I wonder if 10th place guaranteed is questioning his decision to draft Tom Brady very early in the draft. He is not panning out as that high of a draft pick. So he should look on to moving away from Tom Brady maybe for Geno Smith.
Yeah, I'm sure that's something you would look into doing.
You should. Now I got nothing else though. Zaby Baby, great performance. I'm looking forward to seeing where your team grows to become.
Yep.
And this is the gambling record. I will say 1-5. I can't get much worse.
It's only up from here unless you
There
go
is
down.
only up
worse.
from here. Hopefully that doesn't happen. I am in a hole. And I will mention that we did come up with a host's bet for our gambling record at the end of the season. Whoever wins or whoever loses has to buy a jersey of the other team, of the other host picking. So if I won, I would make Bingham buy a Deshaun Watson jersey because I know how much he supports him.
Yeah, God, I hope I never have to fucking wear that thing around.
You might get shot.
I haven't decided who I want you to get in a Cardinals jersey, but I guess it maybe have to. I'd probably just go general and just make you get a Kyler jersey.
I would actually enjoy that a lot. Thank you for that.
I know.
I would not be so nice to you.
Yeah. Oh, there's no one really that's that hated on the Cardinals like Deshaun Watson is. So it's really just whatever.
The Browns have a sweep on that. That's how we like to draft.
Or I could make you get a JJ Watt jersey because I know how much you wanted him to go to the Browns whenever he signed with us. So
I would have loved TJ a little Watt in the Cleveland area, but
yep.
We got your Davion Clowney, who's always injured also. So whatever.
That is fair.
Guest picker is 0-0, so the record is already better than mine. That hurts.
They have one less win than you.
And a lot less loses too. All right.
Yes.
The transactions that transpired. First of all, it's me. Oh, wait, no, it's not. Yes, it is. No, it's not. One of them is DK Metcalf and James Robinson, 2 Fogel's footlong, 4 Aaron Jones. I made that trade because Fogel's footlong's team sucks and he needed some depth. Gave him James Robinson, the RB1 currently for Jacksonville. He might be faded out by Travis Etienne. And who's that new guy that's getting snaps, Bingham?
I believe it's Jamal Agnew is getting some run with them right now.
He is getting some snap share, which is not looking good for James Robinson's future. I'm glad I could get him off my roster. DK Metcalf is highly dependent on good quarterback play from Geno Smith. It's noted that Geno Smith started off the season with his easier schedule, so his performance is looking like it should decline a bit going forward. Aaron Jones, obviously, the Packers have not been everything that was expected out of them. I do believe that they will get their shit figured out, and he can return to being a great RB1 for my team.
Yeah, I had a few things about this trade. Obviously, I think it's pretty clear that Fogel's footlong is in the equivalent of rebuild mode. His team has not panned out in the slightest. It's really bad. That's why he's in 12th place. I think for you going forward with Aaron Jones, I think if the Packers want to start winning games, they're going to have to use Aaron Jones more, whether that's running him or throwing him the ball at the backfield. So I think he'll get some really good usage for you going forward. You touched on it a bit. James Robinson is kind of splitting carries with Etienne and Agnew starting to get some run with them. I think it's been pretty clear, though, with them that Etienne has just been producing more of the explosive plays for them. James Robinson is kind of their short yardage guy. So maybe that will help James Robinson in the red zone, maybe on the goal line. But he kind of seems like a boom or bust guy going forward. And same with DK. He seems to not draw a bunch of targets per game, doesn't get a lot of receptions, but the ones that he does get are big plays. So if he gets a lot of those, then he'll pan out. But I don't know how much you can really rely on that for a full season.
The upside on the trade is massive for Isaiah. He took a lot of the risk on this because I believe that Aaron Jones is a pretty safe running back who can put up around 10 points each week.
I agree.
Unless they shit the bed again.
I agree.
Okay, the next trade is A.J. Dillon and Jamar Chase for Jonathan Taylor, the first overall pick in our draft for the, I believe, 10th and maybe a fourth rounder from A.J. Dillon. I'm not sure exactly when he went. Fourth round or third round sounds about right. Maybe even later, probably later.
Yeah, I'm not sure when he went either. But yeah, just a couple of things I had for this. Obviously, when healthy, Jonathan Taylor will be a top 5 running back in fantasy each week. Hopefully, the Colts O-line can kind of start playing how they were expected to this year. That's kind of hurt them a bit so far, but I think they showed some strides this past week, and hopefully getting Jonathan Taylor back will be they'll continue to play like that. He can get back to the explosive player he was last year.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a good pickup for Tua D's nuts. For armed Rodgery, I think it's pretty clear after this past week that Jamar Chase is still Joe Burrow's number 1 go-to guy. I think he'll continue to get a lot of volume, and he'll be a good fantasy player for armed Rodgery. And I think A.J. Dillon, kind of like Aaron Jones, Packers have to start using both those guys more. I think Aaron Jones gets more volume and better fantasy production, but I think A.J. Dillon has to start getting used more. So he could be a good, potentially running back too if you have to, but a good flex option, I think, week in, week out.
Definitely. You mentioned it. Jonathan Taylor's third string running back in their lineup put up 20-plus points this week. Whenever Jonathan Taylor gets in, you can only expect that number to go up. Their O-line is figuring it out. The Colts themselves are figuring this out. I think Jonathan Taylor's upside is growing every day. Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow figured out what was wrong with them, and that connection is going to continue to grow. In my opinion, Tua D's nuts won this trade, getting A.J. Dillon, whose production has not been the greatest this season and isn't trending good, and unloading him and Jamar Chase for Jonathan Taylor, who can only trend up.
Yeah, I think it's definitely fair to say that if Jonathan Taylor returns to what he was last year, Tua D's nuts wins this trade.
Yeah. It is all Tua D's nuts also has a lot of number one round picks on his team, number 2 round picks. He is building a dynasty team.
Yep. Hopefully everyone can just start putting it together at the same time for him. His team will be scary.
All right. Here's another pick. Brian Robinson Jr. to Dawgs in him for George Pickens. Who got who? Brian Robinson.
Tua D's nuts got Brian Robinson Jr.
I did not like that pickup. I did not think Brian Robinson has been good. Obviously, he's been out, but I did not think he would be a top running back. And I don't think he's worth the George Pickens trade either.
Yeah, I think it's kind of unclear what Brian Robinson Jr.'s outlook will be going forward. Obviously, had really unfortunate beginning to the season, but obviously everyone's happy that he's playing again and he's all right. But he looked like the running back 1 on Thursday Night Football for him this past week. I think he had a pretty decent fantasy week. So who knows if he sustains that kind of number 1 role. And then on the flip side with George Pickens, obviously Pickett, Kenny Pickett will be in concussion protocol, it sounds. Now when he's back, will George Pickens remain his go-to guy every week? So I think this will be an interesting trade just to see how it pans out throughout the rest of the season.
And also, now that Carson Wentz is out with a hand injury for 6 weeks, Taylor Heineke's back in. Heineke, whenever he was playing a couple seasons, last season, the season before that, he was a star. Everyone loved him. His game could be more complementary to Brian Robinson, running a more screen-heavy workload for him. And Brian Robinson's fantasy points will just continue to shoot up with Heineke's lack of deep threat to the defenses he plays against.
Yeah, if he continues to be that running back one for him, I think this could be a good pickup for two of these nuts.
Definitely. And what's next, Zane? What next? What do we have
Well,
next?
we
Uh,
have we have another trade that didn't make the graphic. This
yeah,
was accepted yesterday between uh Carson and Isaiah. So two of these nuts and Fogel's footlong. Zane, yours should be on this, right? You've got James
mine
Conner and
mine will be on
okay,
this too. They were
okay,
not updated yet on the transactions.
okay. Whenever we get to yours, I'll pan to you to get the exact specifics on what the trade was. But so two of these nuts traded Alexander Madison and Mike Evans to Fogel's footlong for Cordero Patterson and Amon-Ra St. Brown. Uh, Dickie, I don't know if you have anything on this trade. I got a few things though. What are your initial thoughts?
Um, two of these nuts is fleecing Isaiah. Alexander Madison has not been anything special. I don't think he's going to be anything special. I don't know why you would want him or even trade for him. And who's Amon-Ra St. Brown? He had a few good weeks. I don't think the Lions are going to put up those numbers again. So good on Carson for getting rid of him high.
Yeah, this is not a good running back swap between the two teams. Cordero Patterson, he's injured right now, but whenever he comes off IR, the Falcons are a run-heavy team, and he'll get a lot of production for him. So I think this is a good pickup for two of these nuts, getting rid of Alexander Madison. I think Mike Evans, obviously going forward for Fogel's footlong, is a good wide receiver one, wide receiver two each week. So I guess he got a good pickup there, but uh, you know, then Fogel's footlong also got rid of Amon-Ra St. Brown in this deal. And well, who knows if the Lions offense will get back to looking like the number one offense that they were at one point this season.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously coming off of a shutout to the Patriots and then the bye week. So will they bounce back and will St. Brown's production stay high or will he fall off?
He should. The Patriots defense is very good at shutting down what you're good at. And they shut down the pass game and made him run with their backup running backs. And they were not able to get anything good going.
Mm-hmm.
And there's one more trade you said?
Yeah, Zane, can you I know you and Bryce were involved in the trade. Can you give the specifics on who was traded to who?
Yeah, me and Bryce made a trade yesterday. I am receiving Rashad Bateman and James Conner for Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
I have my thoughts. Sticky, do you have your initial thoughts?
Believe it or not, Zane fleeced Ed. That's about all I can say. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is a great high. Zane sold him high. He is going to start taking reduced snaps, and the Chiefs' backup running back is going to start fading in to get more of the carries. Good job, Zane.
Yeah, sounds like we're both on the same page here. You know, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, had a good start to the year, but yeah, his snap count is falling to Jarrett McKinnon and Isaac. It's Isaac, right?
Isaiah.
Pacheco?
Yeah, Isaiah Pacheco.
Isaiah Pacheco. So yeah, not a good trade for Ed. James Conner, it's tough to see what he's going to be. The Cardinals' offense has been so bad, so if they can get him back healthy and with D Hop coming back, who knows if they can rely on the run some more. He could be a good pickup for Zane, and then Rashad Bateman outside of Mark Andrews looked like Lamar Jackson's wide receiver one this year. So I think he can be a good addition for Zane for some depth and maybe a flex option each week, depending on who they're playing.
Yeah, it's hard to say what he will be going forward. I'm actually putting the waiver claim in right now.
All right, let's go ahead and I think up next, before we move on to looking ahead to the next week, I am excited. Me, Dickie, Zane, our whole team are excited to present you guys with this week's sponsor, Roman.
Let's go.
Most guys have tried different ways to last longer, but thinking about your fantasy football team doesn't always work. That's why the folks at Roman, an online men's health company, are changing the game with Roman Swipes. the secret to longer lasting sex.
What?
Try Swipes today with a special offer just for our listeners. For the first time, Roman is offering 20% off your first order at getroman.com/WHAD. That's getroman.com/WHAD for 20% off and free 2-day shipping. Thanks, Roman,
Thank you, Roman.
for being our first sponsor of this podcast. I don't know if you have any thoughts about that, Dickie, but
Well, I personally am not this is more of a Zane product than anything else. So Zane, I want to hear your thoughts on Roman and how glad you are to hear Roman. Zane was also our test dummy whenever they sent some products over. Zane was like, let me get some of those so I can use them and test and make sure that it's an actual product that we're giving to our listeners.
Yeah, I wouldn't like to disclose that information. That's private. I'll keep that to myself. Maybe a different pod we can discuss that.
Okay. We're very appreciative of Roman. Thank you, Roman.
yes, thank you, Roman.
You're paying to allow us to do what we love to do.
All right. I
I
think
think it's time.
without further ado, I think we should
Wait, I can put together an intro for this team.
okay, yeah, you go for it.
Zane, you got him ready?
I have him ready whenever you
Sitting
tell me.
at second overall in the league with a win streak of 4 wins, 722 points for the second highest in the league. It is none other than Zachary Dawgs Walker. Thank you, Zach.
What's up, guys? Glad to be here.
You hear my intro at least?
I didn't. I missed it.
Yeah,
No,
fuck. Listen to the episode.
You can watch it back.
I'm excited.
Happy to have you, Zach.
Guys, thank you so much. This right now, I just got to say, this is a pleasure. I remember I was back all the way from your first ever episode. God, man, it seems like it was just a week ago, but
So long ago.
I was one of your first 12 subscribers. You know, from the first day, I was hooked. From Dixon's
you.
banter to Bingham's football knowledge, it was great. Great experience.
Appreciate it. We're happy to have you. You have been amazing in the league. You're putting up great numbers. You're doing some amazing trades. And we want to hear what's going through the mind of you. Zane, do we have a graphic of Zach's team?
I can get a graphic of that.
So we're going to go through your team. I want to hear some of your thoughts of why you have the players you did, why you drafted them, why you traded for them, why you picked them up off the transaction waiver wire. I want to hear what's going through that head of yours.
Yeah, sounds good.
I think while Zane is pulling that up, I have a question for you, Zach. Let's go back to draft night. Did you have any strategy going into the draft? Did you know what players you wanted, or was it kind of just off the top of your head who was available?
You know, Bingham, going into draft night, I remember I heard rumblings that Derrick Henry may be available at pick 5, which I did not expect. So initially I was thinking about targeting Austin Eckler, but when I heard Henry could be available, immediately my whole strategy got flipped on its head. So after I was able to lock that in, my main priority was twofold. One, I want to go running back heavy because I believe in this league, if you can just get one touchdown a week and maybe like 60 to 70 yards, you can get that consistently week over week. That's what you want. And two, I was eyeing high upside. So for example, I went for guys like James Robinson, who I was able to flip to a not so smart member in the league. I was able to flip to him and get some good value out of that. Then another guy, Darrell Henderson. As you can see, I let go of him a little bit too early, but Cam Akers now is done for the Rams. He's going to take over that backfield. So I really eyed the high upside and the running back position importance.
That's a good thought. I didn't even think about it like that. Well done, Zach.
Yeah, it obviously has panned out for you very well so far. I think Zane is still working on it.
I'm ready whenever you are.
Pull it up.
Okay, yeah, let's go to it.
All right, Zach, I'm going to let you carry us through this. I wonder, what you have Dak Prescott a quarterback. Just go ahead and start from the top. Talk us through each one of your players.
Yeah, sounds good. So Dak, you know, I started out the year, I had Trey Lance, and unfortunately he went down in game 2, I believe. So I had to pivot. So from that point, I was streaming between Jared Goff and Trevor Lawrence for a bit, but I saw someone drop Dak, and I figured, you know, that's probably the best high upside play I can make if I just stash my on my IR. Mm-hmm. So I decided to take a shot. And, you know, this week he comes back. You know, I really like his matchup against this poor Detroit defense. So I hope for the best there. Alec Pierce, that's a guy. Let me tell you what.
He is a great pickup.
Yeah, in the offseason at Dawgs Academy, we preach work ethic. And Alec, let me tell you, there's something about him. I don't know what it is, but he's the first in, he's the last out every single day. He's a real gym rat. I got to beg him out. Look, you got to go do some film study. You got to go home, relax, because he is a relentless worker.
What is he doing instead of watching film? Would it be playing Call of Duty by any chance?
Well, I don't know what he does, because I'll tell you, he's just a football junkie. He knows nothing but work. Okay. But I'll tell you what, this past week, for example, I was really worried. He only had like 3 or 4 points, going with like 3 minutes left in the fourth quarter. But I remembered earlier before the game started, he looked at me in the eyes. He said, "Coach, trust me, I will come through. The work is going to pay off." And lo and behold, 40-yard touchdown pass, 10 points right there, game winner with 17 seconds to go. So I'm really proud of Alec. He's earned a wide receiver 1 spot this week for me.
Mm-hmm.
In contrast, T. Higgins is a guy that I'm getting a little bit fed up with, if I'm being honest. He was injured last week. He was a decoy. This against the Saints, he only had 1 good drive where he really put it all together. So I want to see more consistency out of him. I actually had him, he's sharing beds with Alec Pierce for the week, because I really hope with him sharing beds, he's able to get that work ethic to rub off of him. So that's my main priority of T. I just need to see consistency. Derek, we all know about Derek. He's the king for a reason, right? Yes. So if Derek, he's my lead guy. Derek, Brees, and Jacobs, they're all the core of my team. We go as they go. So Derek, and second five, that Josh Jacobs, another guy who they both had buys this past week. They're going to come back well rested. I'm hoping for 20 to 25 touches a game out of him. And if I can get that, I believe the yards and the touchdowns are going to come. Brees is a guy that I got clowned on earlier in the year for trading Waddle and Jahan Dotson for Brees and DK Metcalf. I'm really loving what I'm seeing out of him. Okay. He's just come out the gates looking like he's a man possessed. I can consistently count 15 to 20 points on him every week over week. He is that Jets office because Zach Wilson is fucking dog shit. Taysom Hill was a high upside pick. This week, I'm very intrigued to see if Andy Dalton can't go and Jameis Winston isn't, healthy enough to go either, because he may get quarterback reps. And if he does, man, oh man, that tight end position, that's just lacking every week. But if I can get quarterback snaps out of him, I'm really looking forward to the upside he presents. Definitely. Then on my bench, really quick, Trevor Lawrence, this past week, he gave us what we needed. He vultured 2 touchdowns at the goal line. That's what I love to see. So very happy with his performance. Justin Jefferson, he had a great start. He gets me 15 points or so every week, but just like T, I'll tell you what, like I see that sometimes he'll show up to film study late. He's not working as hard as he can. He'll, half-ass in the gym. So I really need, yeah, exactly. Thank you. So I really need him to rub off of Alec. All right. I really need Alec. I don't know what it is about Alec. It's just something innate, something internal about him.
What do you think about the allegations that Justin Jefferson might be tearing his ACL this week?
Well, Dixon, I believe that those allegations are unfounded, because I believe that the people that spread those allegations are salty that they gave him up for a song for no reason. So I'm good with Jefferson. All right. So I believe that he's going to get this bye. He's going to come back, and the Vikings offense and Alex O'Connell are going to realize, like, wait a minute, guys, we can't run the offense through a shitty, overhyped running back and a receiver from Mankato, Minnesota. It's only 32 years old. All right. It just can't happen. You have the fucking best receiver in the league for a reason. You got to use him. And then, just capping it all off really quick. TJ Hawkinson, he had that great big week, but I'm going with the upside play in Taysom Hill. So this week, Hawk's going to ride the bench. We'll see if that changes. Hunter Renfrow, again, he just has something about him. He's in there every single week.
I wonder what it is. I wonder why you like that receiver out of every other receiver on your team.
I wonder too, but it's just something about him. He works so hard every single week. This week, he's not going to see the lineup, but, I'm sure that hard work is going to pay off eventually, and he'll get his time. He'll get his time. I specifically targeted him to go along with the Tyreek Hill with Nate earlier in the week, because there's just something about him. I look him in the face, and I see something that I can relate to. All right. I see something that makes me feel comfortable when I look at Hunter.
All right. We're that.
My last.
I think I'm following your trend.
My last pickup on the bench, George Pickens. I recently traded for him this past week with Carson.
We were just saying how much we love that trade.
Yeah, well, I loved it too until
we said the other way, that we don't like it.
Well, yeah, because Brian Robinson, he's stuck in a 3-way backfield, but it looks like he's going to be alpha dog there. But George Pickens is a guy that, especially if Mitchell Trubisky can find his way out of the Tua Tagovailoa mental hospital, if he can unconcuss his head, then I really believe Pickens has great upside, because they are just funneling targets his way. And when you look for a bench option, that's all you really want. So, and my Eagles defense on the bench, they've been great. I couldn't have asked for anything better. In fact, I specifically dropped just an extra player on my bench just so I can carry them out and have to drop them during the bye week, because that secondary is just playing out of their minds. They're getting sacks. They're getting consistent pressure. I'm really happy with what I see there. And Young Hoku, it's the Young Ho. You got to trust the Young Ho. The Young
Do you
Ho.
stream kickers or do you keep them week to week?
I don't. I just think it's so much of a crapshoot. I don't see a point of, upping my moves count to mess up my waiver count, my waiver order. So I just stick with the kicker and I just set him for the most part. When Koo has his bye week, I'll probably drop him and we'll see what happens then. But for now, Koo's the long-term starter.
Koo's the dude.
Yeah, I am looking forward to whenever Kenny Pickett is able to unconcuss himself, unlike anyone who has ever had a concussion, and give George Pickens some targets, because we talked about him some last week, I think, at one point about Pickens whenever Nate dropped him for nothing. But I like the upside of Pickens this year whenever Pickett's back. So, yeah, I think he's a good bench hold for you.
Yeah, that's the
I
hope
agree.
for me too. It's all about upside at the end of the day, especially when it's just guys off of your bench.
Zach, I want to ask you
Yep.
a question. Can I?
Yeah.
What do you think of your dear friend Carson and the team he's creating?
Dixon, I love Carson. We all love Carson.
Yeah.
But
Bingham doesn't.
Well, Bingham doesn't, but the rest of us all love Carson. But the thing about Carson
I'm coming around.
Well, maybe one day you will. But the thing about Carson is that he's inconsistent. 1 week he'll go and he'll trade half his roster. But then when he loses in a shootout to someone like Josh, who, by the way, is the first place player in our league, by the way, he goes full tilt and he talks about how much he hates his team, how much he needs to replace every single person, how much he hates the sight of A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts. So I think Carson, and, when you have that situation, if your coach or your manager, whoever it may be, I think it really adds a lot of unneeded pressure and intensity to that locker room. So I think Carson really needs to take a look in the mirror and ask himself, what is he conveying when he puts his entire team on the block week over week? So I think he has a lot of self-searching to do before he could be successful in this league.
That was very well said. Do you guys want to pivot in? Bing, any more questions for Zach?
No, I don't have any more questions. I'm looking forward to being able to get into the picks with Zach, though. See
Sure.
how he does as our first guest picker.
Cool. We can run through the new standings real quick. Oklahoma Drill still tops the table after his 5-point victory over Carson. Dawgs in him, number 2. Bingham, number 3. Bingham, I was looking at some analysis of the league. They have you as the number 1 team in the league right now, so congratulations. Two of these nuts, number 4. Linguine, number 5. Suquandi's nuts, fuck you. Myself, number 7. Zaby Baby, Armed Rodgery, 10th place guaranteed in the battle for the shitters. Cobra Kyler and Fogel's foot long. Who do you think's going to lose that one, Bingham? Who do you think's going to end up getting last right now?
I just can't see Fogel's footlong digging himself out of the hole that he's created for him.
Fogel's footlong also has 90 more points scored against him than Cobra Kyler.
Yeah, but I mean, I really don't look into that at all, because
Most in the league, actually. Now,
if you're going to
most in the league,
if you're going to score 45 points or whatever he did against you last week, you're never going to win a game. And I looked at his projections earlier. I don't think he's set his lineup yet, so this is probably going into effect for it, but it's not looking like a much better projection for him. So I do believe that Cobra Kyler will win the battle of the worst teams in the league, and Fogel's footlong will be taking that ACT.
I think he's looking forward to it. He also mentioned that he would offer a alternate punishment for himself: 48 hours in Waffle House or IHOP. 48 hours is a long ass time.
I'll accept that punishment. I don't know what you guys think, but I'll accept
I
that.
would let him do that.
I'm down to put it up to a league vote, but I think I would vote for him to do that if that's really what he wants to do.
He said he would rather do that than spend 4 hours taking the ACT. This kid's an idiot.
Dixon, it's that kind of decision making that has him last in the league right now.
Yes, I think it is.
I think you're onto something.
Well said. All right, Zane, you want to pull up the picks? We get into picks.
All right. Not sure where he went, but yeah, we can get right into it. We have Linguini going up against Cobra Kyler. Dickie, I'll pan to you first.
Yeah,
Who
I'm
do you
never
have?
gonna pick Cobra Kyler again. He let me down. Sorry about it, Linguini. You have my pick here.
Yeah, real quickly. I also have Linguini in this one. Just a couple things I highlighted though. Cooper Kupp being on bye for Linguini is a little worrying. I'm sure he's worried about it too. But I also wanted to highlight, does Ed's team finally score points? And I don't think it happens this week. So I like Linguini in this one as well.
Yeah, Cobra Kyler isn't gonna do it. Zach, what about you? What's your pick on this one?
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest, guys. I went back and forth on this matchup. It really ate at me, but I think what did it in for me at the end was that I looked at Cooper Kyler's team and I just cannot trust a quarterback that can't currently spell his last name starting for him. I can't. So because of that, I think I'm gonna lean Linguini in a shootout.
Linguini in a shootout. You think how many points
Wow.
you think are gonna be scored?
Well, okay,
Zach?
maybe shootout wasn't the correct term. I think nail biter would be more accurate. I see this as like a 95 to 92 kind of game.
That would be one of the best weeks for Cobra Kyler. So
I
good for
don't love
him.
the way my team's trending right now. So
No, Zane, do you have yourself winning this one?
I do. I have myself winning.
Always bet on yourself. Fogel's footlong versus armed Rodgery. Another team I will never bet on is Fogel's footlong. So give me armed Rodgery here.
Yeah, I also am taking armed Rodgery. Fogel's footlong going forward is going to be outmatched by everyone he plays. So unless something drastic happens with this team, I don't know if I'll ever pick him to win a game in this league. So I am also rocking with armed Rodgery.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and for me, I think the best way to illustrate my pick here is that Fogel's footlong. It looks like he's going to be forced to start James Robinson and Chase Edmonds at his two running back positions. And I'm
Lucky
sorry.
him.
Yeah, I just cannot see how that's a viable opportunity for him to take this matchup. So because of that, I'm going to go with armed Rodgery.
Perfect. Going to the next one, Suquandi's Nuts versus the number one team in the league, Oklahoma Drill. Looks like Josh hasn't set his roster yet. I don't know if he's going to. Bingham, what's your take here?
Yeah, you touched on it there. The buys for Josh's team are going to hurt him this week a lot, I feel. And on the flip side, Suck D's Nuts has a buy-free week, so he has all of his players in there for him. I am going to pick against the first place player in our league. I'm going to take Suck D's Nuts in this matchup.
Well, I don't. We're through three picks, and we haven't disagreed on any of them yet. So I'm also taking Suquandi's Nuts.
Yeah, I'm going to go Suquan just because
Wow.
Oklahoma Drill is in bye week hell this week.
Be original.
Well, yeah, I try, but I can't be on this one. But the other thing that worries me is that Suquan D's Nuts. I believe that between Ramondre Stevenson and Saquon Barkley, that's just a hell of a 1-2 punch right now. I think the X factor in the state game, though, comes down to Amari Cooper. Suquan D's Nuts needs those high performances from those fringe players. If he can get a solid 12 to 15 out of Amari this week, I think he takes this handily to take off the number one player in the league.
I think Suquan should win this. Josh said that he doesn't expect to win this week. He doesn't believe in himself.
Josh, I would say I'm sorry for picking against you, but I don't think you're even going to pick yourself. So I guess I don't feel bad. But yeah, unfortunate timing for Josh.
Yeah. No one wants to lose against Nate, and it's going to hurt a lot to Josh. The next week is Dogs in 'em versus Losers React, Winners Respond. Zach, I'll let you pick this one first.
What we have a saying here at Dogs in 'em, okay? The hungry dog runs fastest.
Okay.
And so what that means for the purposes of this week is that you look at my lineup. All right, you have Derrick Henry and Josh Jacobs come off a bye. You have guys like
They're
Alec
fresh.
Pierce. Yeah, exactly. We have guys like Alec Pierce who just for whatever reason always have that dog running inside of them. So I look at my lineup and I think that pound for pound, skill for skill, we match up with anybody. However, I think this is going to be a really close game. I think the X factor for me, I'm picking myself, is going to be Taysom Hill. If he ends up getting significant quarterback snaps because of an injury to Dalton or Winston, I think that could really be a huge upside play to find lineup. However, I think Dixon is one of the best players in this league. The record doesn't indicate that, but I think he is one of the best players in this league. So I think it's going to be really close, but I think I eke it out.
Thank you. You made my ego bit bigger because I have been hurting. Bingham, who do you have?
Yeah, just a couple of things I highlighted for him, just for this matchup. The wide receivers for you, Dickie, and then the running backs for Zach. Who who will put up more points for you guys? I think that's the difference in this week's matchup. Does Dogs in him stay hot like he has been all year? I think he does. I think this is gonna also I think this will be a real shootout. Uh, but at the end of the day, I had no idea who to pick, so I flipped a coin and tails won, so I'm picking Dogs in him in this matchup.
Perfect. I did not want you to pick me because I'm going to pick me. Give me by a million. I have the number 2 projected wide receiver and the number 3 projected wide receiver. Tyreek Hill is going to fuck everyone going against him. Tua Tagovailoa is going to find him everywhere against the field. CeeDee Lamb is going to fuck whoever he's playing against. Dak Prescott being back. I have 2 returning quarterbacks against my 2 number 1 wide receivers who would be wide receiver 1 on most teams this week. Give me by a mile.
I like the confidence.
Thank you.
I don't.
Fuck you. Okay, Bingham versus 10th place guaranteed.
Yeah, this will be the first week on the pod that I pick myself. I like my chances to win this game. I finally get DeAndre Hopkins back this week, fresh off of his suspension. I'm hoping that the Cardinals offense turns it around at the right time with him coming back. Hopefully he has a lot of production. A lot of big buys for both teams. I have Stephon Diggs out. So all the more reason for great timing for D-Hop to come back. I like myself in this matchup.
Zach?
Yeah, I think this is going to be a really close matchup. We obviously know about the turmoil that 10th place guaranteed has gone through throughout the year. However, I look at his lineup and I just see the potential here for a guy like Leonard Fournette or Mike Williams to just carry him throughout the week. But, what scares me is I see guys like Michael Carter slated for the starting lineup, and I just can't see how it's a viable running back 2 option. So I think Bingham's going to win this, and I think it's going to be on the back of performances of guys like Kenneth Walker or DeAndre Hopkins, possibly in a comeback game for Marquise Brown being out for the year. So I'm going to take Bingham.
Sure. Lamar Jackson has to do good, in my opinion, for Bingham to win this week. I think Tom Brady is going to have a bounce back week. Tom Brady does not lose 2 weeks in a row. I think he is going to have an amazing week. Mike Williams did not do that hot yesterday against the high-powered Denver defense. Against the Seattle's defense, I think he will have a better week and put up some good points. Olave is going to put up numbers against Arizona if they have a decent quarterback play that week. Fournette's going to run hard. I like 10th place guaranteed here in the upset against the number 3 overall team.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, I wouldn't say that, I'd be surprised if I lose because I would a little bit, but some of the players on his team do scare me. But yeah, I'll still rock with myself. Let's move on to the final game of this slate for week 7. We have what I have highlighted as the matchup of the week.
Definitely.
Tua D's Nuts taking on Zaby Baby. Tua D's Nuts has not set his lineup yet.
He does not have a quarterback in even.
Dickie or Zach, whichever one of you want to go first. Who do you guys like in this?
Zach, go ahead. I got to think about this one.
All right, so I could see why you have to think about it because, 2 of these nuts this week, he has significant buys. The stack of A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts has been very deadly throughout the week. I mean, throughout the year, he's not going to have. I really want to see, I'm very intrigued to see how he responds if Jalen Hurts not being able to go this week. So I think it all hinges on his, pickup for the quarterback position on the waiver wire. However, I am intrigued to see his new debut, Jonathan Taylor. However, if I have to make a final pick, I think I do lean 2 of these nuts ever so slightly. I think that the performance of guys like Jonathan Taylor and French players like Brian Robinson is really going to be what makes the final score occur in this game.
Sure. I am going to agree with you there. I think Carson has done great work to build up good depth on his team in preparation for the bye week season. So I think depending on who he picks up as his backup quarterback, I give this one to 2 of these nuts also.
Well, another one that we disagree on. My big thing with this game going in was, does Carson bounce back or does Braden stay hot? I lean towards Braden staying hot. We know the trade he made last week. I think he stays hot, and I like him to win this game.
Perfect. Those are our picks this week. I hope my record can be better. Zach, you didn't get to see it, but I won 1 bet. I lost 5. So
That
it
sounds
wasn't a
bad
good
on
week
brand
for
for
me.
you. Yeah.
Not good. Not great. What else do we have planned for this episode, Zane?
That's it.
Nothing else. I mean, my only question was, I guess, other than yourself, Zach, who kind of sticks out as the top dog in the league?
Yeah, well, obviously Josh, he's really been playing well this year. However, he has a big hit to his lineup of Marquise Brown going down. And, this week, for example, he has some bye week turmoil. But, if I have to ask who's a very strong competitor in this league, I would go with Dixon and Carson just because of how much of degenerates they are when it comes to trades and the waiver wire. So, they're always firing stuff up and looking to make changes, always looking to constantly improve. So I think, yeah, I would probably lean them to be very big competitors in this league going forward.
I have spent around 4 hours on the Yahoo app today doing research and listening to podcasts, reading articles, and it is looking good for me going forward.
Yeah, well, shit. I hope if you're putting that much time into it, it looks good for you.
I put time into this and I don't study for the test I have tomorrow, so I'm not doing so hot in that
Hey,
aspect.
Well,
I think that's respectable.
Well, Dixon, you can put all the time you want in, but that's not going to change the fact that Tony Pollard is starting for you.
I think Tony Pollard's going to be okay. Ezekiel Elliott is a complete dog shit. Tony Pollard has been the red zone back for them. I am confident that he's going to put up points this week.
Well, hopefully he does. We have a nice, good matchup. I don't have to blow out someone again this week. It's been a while since I've had a nice little nail biter. So
can we have one of the patrons clip that where he says Tony Pollard's
Wasn't
going to do
necessary,
bad?
Zach.
And whenever he drops 20 points, shove that down Zach's fucking throat.
it's supposed to mean Zane.
Wasn't necessary.
All right, so I think that's all we have. Zane, any last minute comments?
I guess just on the flip side, who's your pick to lose the league right now?
Well, in my opinion, it goes back and forth every single week, but I look at the kind of lineups that Fogel's footlong is trotting out there, and I just think to myself, like, Jesus Christ, I could go down the street to the elementary school and get them to put something better together. I mean, Chase Edmonds as your starting running back, are you fucking kidding me? So that being said, I am very excited to see him spend 48 hours in a Waffle House. I don't think he does it. I think he stays for about 12, and then he passes out, wakes up, and leaves without telling anyone. So I think right now my pick to lose would be Fogel's footlong.
Isaiah is a fat fuck, so I could see him eating a lot of waffles to get himself out of there.
That's true. I hadn't thought about that.
Okay. Well, I think that's all we have today.
Well, no. What about Bingham? I want to hear who Bingham thinks.
Yeah, go ahead, Bingham.
Yeah, I don't see Isaiah getting not last place. I think Ed or Cobra Kyler outmatches him for the battle of the shit teams. Yeah. He will be spending however long he wants to at that IHOP or Waffle House, but I won't say anything about his body shape though.
I'll save that for myself. All right, Zach, what is that a blanket behind you?
Yeah, this is my bed. It's a blanket.
No. What's the other blanket?
Oh, no, they're
All right, thank you guys for watching this week's episode of What Happened podcast. I have been Tyler, joined by Bingham, Zane, and our special guest of the week, Zach Walker. Thank you everyone for watching and listening. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe with post notifications turned on. We will see you guys back here next week.